Hey, welcome back to the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. I'm excited to be here today with someone who I've known for a long time. Actually, my older brother, Jeremy Stoddart. Jared, thanks for letting me twist your arm to come on the show today.
Took some work, but happy to be here.
Jeremy's been a very close friend and a mentor of mine for a long time. Very bright individual. Tell the audience real quick, Jared, kind of what you're up to now.
Yeah, so I have an entrepreneurial background, but I've spent the last 3 years working with a company called Andersen Windows and Doors, and I'm actually headed to San Diego. We're opening a new division down there, so I'm going to help open that up and get things off the ground down there.
Can manage a sales team of how many people do you think will be?
Well, we're going to grow. We're starting with 0, but I've hired 6 so far, and we'll be at probably 20 by the end of the year. Probably a team of 30 salespeople by middle to end of next year.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So one of the top producers in the country in his role. So we're here to talk about some things that we're passionate about that have been helpful for us, that we know relate directly to real estate agents and directly to helping them grow their businesses. So we're here at a conference, and we are learning a lot. So the 3 things that we want to point out that are essential for a real estate agent to have a better 2018 than 2019 is to learn. What are some of the ways that you learned the best here?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. We were having this conversation. It's interesting. We're already almost 2 months into the year, and when you get out of town, it kind of gives you a chance to look at the year you're having and say, okay, where am I at? Like, how are my habits? How are my practices? What am I doing? Am I in a better spot than last year? And I certainly think that the learning component is a huge, it makes a huge impact on where you're at and the direction you're going. For me, I think there's a combination of things. I end up spending a lot of time in the car, and so naturally I have Audible, and I try and be listening to something good at all times. We're obviously at a conference now, which there's huge value in that, and learning from bright people. And someone that would go out and spend enough money to go out of town and learn is typically a person that you want to hang out with. There's a lot to learn from other people, of course, in that arena. So between books and podcasts, obviously something like this is great. Books and listen to Audible are a big kind of part of what I spend most of my time on.
Yeah, for me, it's the same. I try and read a book a month, and not just like peruse through it, but like even go back and listen to it. So for me, it's books, it's podcasts. I've got some favorites. Hopefully, the Think Bigger Real Estate Show is on your list. Put a plug in for that. Shameless self-promotion right there. And I would say also conferences. This past week, I've been at 2 really significant conferences for me. So I appreciate you pointing that out. That you do learn differently when you're out of the whirlwind, right? When you're learning in your city and your environment, it's hard sometimes to really get into the right mindset. But when you're here in a new spot, you tend to learn at a higher level. So
I think it's distracted, right? When you're at home, there's so many distractions with work and family and things pointing different directions.
Yeah.
Getting out of town allows you to really immerse deep into a topic and work to become an expert at that. And maybe just as importantly, some time in the evenings to reflect on where you're at and how to implement some of these strategies in your life. I've set a goal to try and go to 1 a quarter. And as I've done that certain times in my life, I see great growth. And I don't know if it's what I'm learning or the chance it has for me to reset and organize myself going forward, but it's probably a combination of both.
That's great. So point number 2, outside of learning, is the networks that you build. I'm going to make a plug for that because we've been surrounded, for the past week, by people that are smarter than me, that are further down the path that I want to be on, and they're able to teach me. Last night we bumped into a friend of mine who's an architect who's built some really cool things in addition to just being an architect. And so it's fun for me to pick his brain to say, what advice would you give me here? There's so much value in having people around you, not just learning from books and conferences, but real people you can talk to and mastermind with. Tell me, Jeremy, quickly, what networks, like how have you found to build a powerful network?
Well, I think the challenge is we are very, very busy in our daily lives. And so you end up living a life that's fairly reactionary.
Yeah.
And you end up surrounding yourself with the people that are the easiest to hang out with, right? Whether they live by you or they're old friends or whatever. And we've all heard the adage that you end up making as much of the pipe people you surround yourself with. To get where you want to go, you've got to be very strategic about that. You have to determine who are the people that are going where I want to go. And that's not just professionally. That's, as a father or mother, that's the way I eat, the way I take care of myself. And it takes work to go out and build those new relationships. It sometimes takes getting in different environments than you're at and putting yourself in spots where you can meet the right people. But I've learned firsthand that if I'm not strategic, I could go a year or two without building a valuable relationship that's going to get me closer to where I want to go, right? You've got to be willing to take the time and map out a plan. Here's who I want to be. Then who are those people that I would ultimately want to surround myself with? And then how do I begin a relationship? One that's hopefully symbiotic. You can have, but it doesn't just happen by happenstance, for sure.
One of the things that I even relearned is when many people are trying to build a network, they approach people and with the mindset of what's in it for me, right? Like I'm approaching saying like, hey, I think you'd be good for me. Let's build the network. And I don't think you can build a very strong network by simply looking for that. I think you've got to be very intentional about discovering in advance what that person really needs and come in. In fact, we just heard a really interesting scenario. A guy by the name of Russell Brunson, who's really kind of the ringleader of this whole event that we're at. He masterminds closely with a guy by the name of Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins. And Dean and Tony were putting together a mastermind. And they had it all set up. They're super excited about it. Russell was a little bit jealous because he wasn't invited to be in. Well, Russell perceived the need that they had. And he told them, he said, you guys need to buy the domain mastermind.com. It's only $1 million. And Dean and Tony are like, like for $1 million, no thanks. Well, Russell went out, negotiated the deal, bought it for $600,000, and gifted it to Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins. And in exchange for that value, he didn't expect anything from it, but he's smart enough to realize that when you give massive amounts of value to two very powerful people, what do? They invited Russell to be a part of it. So now it's no longer just a 2-person mastermind, it's a 3-person mastermind, in which they're going to be teaching some really powerful courses. And I think a great lesson for all of us, although maybe you nor I at this point can stroke a $600,000 check to go gift somebody something like that. There are things that you can do, and I think you can show up very intentionally in advance and show up differently by coming with what can I give instead of what can you give me.
And a lot of times it's stuff that's free. It could be, I know someone you should meet, right? Yeah. Maybe you become an introducer to some person that would add value to their network. Maybe it's, I've kind of developed the practice of when I run through certain articles, if I see something that I think would add value, I'll shoot it over to someone, just, hey, thinking about you, right? But yeah. I think people in your life that are watching out for you and trying to add value and sharing the best of what they come across certainly changes your view of that person and how you perceive them. So it doesn't have to cost money. That example is a fun one, but it's not something that we typically end up being involved in for most of us.
So the tactical takeaways from that is, who do you need to meet, right? Maybe you've identified that there's a certain CPA in town that can really change your world by referring, numerous clients a month to you. I promise you, it will not take you very much time to get very intentional with what can I do for that CPA and who does that CPA need to meet. And very quickly, you'll find yourself on the inner circle, likely getting what you want. So
yeah, maybe sending them customers is a good way to start, right? Yeah. That's a pretty good, that kind of speaks everyone's love language, is getting customers, right?
Yeah, I love it. So the third point I want to talk about today are the habits that you create to properly leverage the knowledge that you've gained, right, from point number 1, and the networks that you've built. We just listened again to Dean Graziosi, and it was Millionaire Habits?
Yeah, that's his newest book, right?
And we now own that book. Have not read it yet, but everything that I've been studying for the past number of years, the most successful people in the world will point back to, yeah, you can learn, but what are your habits? What do you do consistently? Not even sporadically. Sporadically is nice and fun. It's better than not doing it at all, maybe not. But those people that achieve at really high levels, those real estate agents that are and will be for an extended period of time the most successful agents achieving their goals and being able to impact the world in greater ways, are those that have really great habits. What have you found, Jared, to really establish great habits? What are some pieces?
Well, I think iterating what you said, or reiterating that the challenge with habits is that if you don't have them, it takes such an emotional toll that you can't sustain anything very long. And so you'll go through these ups and downs and peaks and valleys, right? A guy named Tony Schwartz years ago wrote a book that I found very, very powerful. I think it's called Peak Performance or something of that nature, but he taught that we have a self-discipline reservoir. and that we only have so much. And the only way to really get where you want to go, because you can't self-discipline or power your way through it, is you have to build what he called rituals or habits, right? And he talks about, he worked with high-performance athletes and helping them in a time of duress or stress build habits that didn't take emotional energy to settle them down, to prepare them for the next event. And you look at great athletes or business people, and they have things they do what almost looks like effortlessly, right? Or subconsciously. They've been doing them so long it doesn't take the effort. So I think that the key really is to find what I've found work for me is pick one habit that's sort of like a keystone habit, right? A habit that if I did this, it would best move all these other objectives forward. The tendency is like, right now I could change 10 habits or 20 habits in my life, and you want to go after all of them, which means you go after none of them and you do none of them, right? So I think you pick one that ultimately would begin to move the ball in the right direction, and then the momentum starts to build. You start to build confidence in yourself. You start to look at, man, look, I was able to do this one, and this one happened to impact another one. Now you've got a couple going, and pretty soon you get the one going long enough, no more energy is required. You can focus on the next one, and before you know it, you've implemented 4, 5, 6 new ones over the course of a year, which could dramatically move your business or life forward in all areas.
I love it. There's actually an app I'm going to be introducing as a resource for watching this show. Any real estate agent that watches this, I'm going to give you an app that has absolutely changed my ability to be consistent with habits. It's called Productive, and that's all I'm going to tell you. So I'm going to actually do a short video that highlights kind of my success with it, and it's been crazy. I've always aspired to be a guy that gets up and works out every day, but realistically, I've been kind of hot and cold. And for the past 20 some odd days, I haven't missed a day, and I don't dare miss a day because of the way this thing is built. So I'm gonna be watching. If you're not yet a member of the Think Bigger Real Estate Group, apply to join. And if by chance you are, be watching for this video that I'm putting there. It's gonna walk you through how to use it. That is gonna wildly change your habits and practices. So look forward to sharing that with everybody.
Those tools are powerful to help you really keep it top of mind and help you begin to build some momentum to feel good about what you're doing and trust that it's working, right? So I love it.
Good stuff. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, for being on for tuning into the show today. Thank you, Jeremy, for taking the time.
Yeah, happy to do it.
And we'll look forward to catching you guys on the next one. And if
Sounds
this has been helpful, please share.